Level 1, the first dividend. You buy your first dividend-paying stock. $2,000, maybe $3,000, spread across 2 or 3 companies that pay you simply for owning them. A few months later, a number appears in your account. $14, $22, $9. It feels almost absurd how small it is, how disconnected from the idea of living off dividends that brought you here in the first place. But something happens psychologically that the dollar amount doesn't capture. You understand, for the first time, that money can arrive without you trading your hours for it. That distinction matters more than the number does. You start reinvesting it automatically, a process called a DRIP, Dividend Reinvestment Plan, where the small payout buys you a fraction more of the same stock, which generates a slightly larger payout next time. The amounts are still too small to notice in any meaningful way. $9 becomes $9.14. This is not income. This is a seed. At this level, you are not living off anything. You are learning the mechanism, how often dividends are paid, quarterly mostly, sometimes monthly, how the yield relates to the price, how a company can raise or cut its payout depending on what's happening inside the business. You read about dividend aristocrats, companies that have raised their payout for 25 consecutive years or more, and you start to understand that consistency is the actual product you're buying, not the yield itself. The number on the screen is small enough to ignore. The behavior you're building is not. Level 2, the accumulation phase. Your portfolio crosses $25,000, then $50,000, built slowly through consistent monthly contributions, not lump sums, not lucky timing. $500 a month, sometimes $800, deposited and allocated into a basket of 15 to 20 dividend-paying companies across different sectors. Utilities, consumer staples, healthcare, the boring businesses that keep paying you whether the economy is thriving or struggling. Your annual dividend income is now somewhere between $750 and $1,500 a year, which sounds almost insulting when you say it out loud. $125 a month from $50,000 invested. But you stop comparing it to your rent and start comparing it to where it was a year ago. The growth rate matters more than the absolute number at this stage. You begin tracking your yield on cost, not just the current yield, but what your original investment is now yielding given dividend increases over time. A stock you bought at a 3% yield might now be paying you 4.2% on your original purchase price because the company raised its dividend 3 times since you bought it. This is the part nobody explains clearly. The yield you experience compounds even if you never add another dollar because the companies themselves are raising what they pay you. You are still reinvesting everything. None of this income touches your daily life yet. It exists entirely inside the account, invisible to your budget, growing in the background while you keep working your regular job and living off your regular paycheck. Level 3, the supplemental tier. Your portfolio reaches $150,000 and your dividend income crosses $5,000 a year, roughly $420 a month. This is the first level where the number becomes genuinely useful, not life-changing, but real. It could cover a car payment. It could cover a utility bill. You start making a decision here that defines the next several years, whether to keep reinvesting everything or to start taking some of it as actual income. Most people at this stage keep reinvesting because $420 a month doesn't change your life, but $420 a month compounding for another decade absolutely does. You begin diversifying more deliberately, balancing high-yield holdings that pay you more now against dividend growth holdings that pay you less now but increase faster over time. A utility company yielding 5% with 2% annual dividend growth behaves very differently over 15 years than a tech-adjacent company yielding 1.5% with 12% annual dividend growth. You start running the math on both paths, not because you need to yet, but because the decision compounds, and small choices here become large differences at scale. Your portfolio is no longer a curiosity. It is a system you are actively managing, rebalancing twice a year, trimming positions that have grown too concentrated, adding to sectors that are underweighted. The dividend checks are real now. They are also still small enough that you don't restructure your life around them. Level 4, the meaningful income tier. Your portfolio crosses $400,000 and your annual dividend income reaches somewhere between $14,000 and $18,000 depending on your yield mix, roughly $1,200 to $1,500 a month. This is the threshold where the math starts feeling personal. That number could cover your rent in a lot of cities. It could cover your groceries and your car payment combined. You are not financially free, not even close, But you are starting to notice that your job is no longer the only thing standing between you and your bills. This changes how you think about risk. You stop chasing yield for its own sake because you've learned by now that an unusually high yield, 9%, 10%, 12%, is often a warning sign rather than an opportunity, a market pricing in a dividend cut the company hasn't announced yet. You favor dividend growth over raw yield at this stage because you've started thinking in terms of years, not months. A 3% yield growing at 8% annually will overtake a flat 6% yield within a decade, and you have decided you're not exiting this strategy in a decade. You also start paying closer attention to taxes, the difference between qualified dividends taxed at the lower capital gains rate and ordinary dividends taxed as regular income, and you begin shifting some holdings into tax-advantaged accounts where the distinction stops mattering entirely. Your portfolio has a job now. It is not abstract anymore. It is a second income stream that happens to require no additional hours from you, and once you can name a real monthly bill it would cover, the entire framework of the strategy changes from interesting to necessary. Level 5, the bill covering tier. Your portfolio crosses $900,000, and your dividend income lands between $30,000 and $36,000 a year, roughly $2,500 to $3,000 a month. At this level, the dividends could plausibly cover your core fixed expenses in a moderate cost of living area, rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance. You are not quitting your job. You are not close to that decision. But you've crossed into territory where the portfolio is functioning as a real financial pillar rather than a side project. You start having a different kind of conversation with yourself about risk tolerance, because a 2008-style market event here would not just dent a number on a screen, it would meaningfully reduce an income stream you've started to mentally rely on. You begin holding more cash reserves outside the dividend portfolio specifically to avoid being forced to sell shares during a downturn just to cover a bill, because selling into a crash to fund living expenses is how dividend investors accidentally destroy decades of compounding in a single bad year. You also start thinking seriously about sequence of returns. The idea that the order in which gains and losses occur matters enormously once you're relying on a portfolio for income, not just growing it. A 20% drop early in your reliance on this income does far more damage than the same drop 10 years from now. This is the level where the strategy stops being purely about accumulation and starts requiring genuine portfolio management, the kind that previously only mattered to people withdrawing from retirement accounts. Level 6, the full replacement tier. Your portfolio crosses $1.8 million, and your dividend income reaches somewhere between $60,000 and $72,000 a year, $5,000 to $6,000 a month. This is the number most people picture when they imagine living off dividends, because it roughly matches a full-time salary in much of the country. The math here becomes a genuine decision point. Could you leave your job? Technically, yes. Should you? That depends entirely on your expenses, your health insurance situation, which becomes enormously relevant the moment you're not getting it through an employer, and how much margin you want between your income and your spending. Most people at this level don't quit immediately. They run the numbers for another year or two, watching how the income holds up through a full market cycle, watching whether dividend cuts during a downturn would meaningfully change their math. You start diversifying away from concentration risk aggressively here, because $1.8 million sitting too heavily in 3 or 4 sectors is no longer a hobbyist's mistake, it's a structural vulnerability in what is now your actual livelihood. You think about dividend cuts differently too. A single company cutting its payout by 40% used to be a minor inconvenience in a 50-holding portfolio. Now you model exactly how much monthly income that costs you and whether your reserve covers the gap. This is also where some investors start blending strategies, adding a portion of total return index funds alongside pure dividend holdings, accepting slightly lower current income in exchange for a portfolio less concentrated in dividend-specific stocks, which tend to cluster in similar defensive sectors. Level 7, the comfortable independence tier. Your portfolio crosses $3.5 million, and your dividend income lands between $115,000 and $140,000 a year. At this point, the conversation about whether to keep working stops being about money and starts being about identity, about what you actually want your days to look like. The income comfortably exceeds what most reasonable lifestyles require, even in higher cost of living areas, and the excess itself becomes a new variable. Do you reinvest the surplus? Do you spend it? Do you start directing it toward other goals entirely? A second property, funding someone else's education, building toward a number large enough to leave something behind. You start working with a financial advisor or a tax strategist, Not because you can't understand the mechanics yourself anymore, you clearly can, but because the complexity of your tax situation, foreign dividend withholding, qualified versus ordinary treatment across multiple account types, estate considerations, has crossed the threshold where professional coordination saves you more than it costs. The portfolio itself behaves differently at this scale too. You're not just collecting yield, you're managing a system, with cash buffers, with tax loss harvesting opportunities, with rebalancing triggers that fire automatically rather than waiting for your attention. Level 8, the generational tier. Your portfolio crosses $7 million, and your dividend income exceeds $230,000 a year, an amount that doesn't just cover a lifestyle, it exceeds what most lifestyles could reasonably absorb without active effort to spend it. At this level, the question stops being "can I live off this?" and becomes "what is this actually for?" Some of it funds your life. A meaningful portion of it starts compounding for purposes beyond your own spending: children, grandchildren, philanthropic structures, trusts built specifically to outlive you. You're no longer thinking in terms of monthly bills covered. You're thinking in terms of decades and generations, in terms of how a portfolio this size gets structured to survive market crashes, estate taxes, and the slow erosion of inflation across a 40 or 50-year horizon. The dividend strategy that started with a $9 payment in your first year has become something closer to an institution, a self-sustaining financial structure that no longer depends on you adding another dollar to keep growing, because the income it generates, even after funding your life completely, still exceeds what gets spent. What began as a curiosity, a small experiment in owning pieces of companies that paid you simply for holding on, has become a number large enough that it now outlives the person who built it.